You're listening to In Cap We Trust for the Always Next Year Podcast Studio Network. You can find the team on our Twitter at ANYPodcast or on our website, www.alwaysnextyearpodcast.com. And now, to bring us in, the Jackdaws.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me solid through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky soul still have me life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.
Hello and welcome to another episode of In Cap We Trust here at the Always Next Year Podcast Studios. I am your host, Shane. I am joined, as always, by Rob. Rob, sir, how are you?
Incredibly frustrated by this damn Phillies team, but hopefully they'll actually play their game tonight and not be delayed 2 hours by literally nothing again.
Probably so. Was it you or was it L who said they're just getting us back for last year's bullshit rain delay?
That was L. And
quality
kudos
text
to
by
him
him
because I completely forgot about that.
I did not, but that was our exact reason why Bryce Harper was here. Like, that was our recruit process. How can we get Bryce Harper to hang out on the field and realize how fun of a guy Rhys Hoskins is? And damn it, it worked. Damn it, it worked. But while we are sitting here and we are frustrated by last night's rainout and discouraged by the growing IL list and the underperforming stars of the offense and the underperforming bit of the pitching staff, let's talk about things that do make us feel good. So, Rob, you like Jamaican jerk chicken skewers?
What's that?
Do you like Jamaican jerk chicken skewers?
I have never tried them before. I imagine that I probably would if I did, though. It sounds good, though. It sounds like something that'll taste pretty good.
How about chicken skewers with garlic sauce?
I like anything with garlic sauce.
As you should, as you should. How about Swedish meatballs?
I love meatballs.
Stromboli, pork pot stickers?
Not a big Stromboli guy.
Not a big Stromboli guy. How
Not
does
a
one
big
not
Stromboli
enjoy
guy.
Stromboli? That's impressive.
I'm a picky eater.
You are a picky eater. That is true. That is true. But if you are not a picky eater, or even if you are, there are basic options for you as well. We encourage you to go to Just Food. This is a new sponsor for us. Just Food is out of Buckingham Green Shopping Center in Buckingham, PA. It is just above, not Peace Valley. I always want to say Peace Valley, man. Just above Peddler's Village in Bucks County, PA. Treat yourself. Take it home. They do catering service for weddings. They do it for private parties of any kind. If you just want to pick up lunch and stop in the store and talk to Rob, who is a great, great guy, not podcast Rob. We're talking Asian Rob. Asian Rob is the guy who runs this for us, and he is our main contact and connect for Just Food. Ask him, tell him Shane or Rob or anyone else from our group from AMYP that we sent you. Again, treat yourself. Take it home with Just Food, 215-794-FOOD. Ask for Rob. Tell him Shane, Rob, L, Steve, Steph, or Connor sent you.
I'm sure that their Stromboli is pretty awesome, by the way. I just have really fucked up taste buds.
That's ridiculous. I don't know how. I've never met anyone in my life who doesn't like Stromboli, but good for you. But we're going to talk a bunch of things that are equally as displeasing as Rob's taste buds, which is a damn shame, man. You're missing out on all the best things in life and food.
Ever tell you I don't like Italian food?
How in the hell can you...
Okay, I like ravioli. That's it.
All of Italian food is basically the freaking same. It's pasta, it's red sauce or vodka sauce or whatever kind of sauce that you want to put on there. Some sort of cheese, whether it be mozzarella, whether it be ricotta, which is delicious, by the way, which is why you should like ravioli. It's all the fucking same. How does one not like Italian food?
Like I said, I'm a picky eater. It needs to be presented to me in a certain way for me to be able to like it. And ravioli is presented to me perfectly. It's like this little pouch with cheese in it, and then you have the sauce on top. It's perfect.
You're such a weird dude. Do you like Mexican food?
Yeah. I like Chipotle and that kind of stuff.
All right, because it's all the same.
Yeah, like I said, I'm a picky eater.
All right, man. Well, hey, Jesus. This displeases me. It does make sense now why you're turning down my Memphis dry rub and smoked pork tonight. But good for you, I suppose. More for me and Steve later. But let's get back on topic here to things, again, equally as displeasing as your fucked up taste buds, man. The train wreck that is the Philadelphia Phillies starting rotation. So many things we can talk about. We're not going to go game specific this time. We last week, and for the last several shows, we've gone series by series and game by game. We're just going to go with overlying thoughts over the last, 6 to 8 weeks here. We're going to start with the rotation. What in the hell is wrong with Aaron Nola? Could Pete McCann have possibly been right that he's a really good number 3 or an average number 2? By all accounts, he's healthy. His ball is still moving. Maybe he doesn't have the same movement, the same deception line. What's going on with Aaron Nola?
Location. He's missing with his fastball so often. Every time he does, they get barreled up and sent out of the ballpark. That was not an issue for him last year. And I'd like to think that he's past the point of getting used to this new baseball because we're at the halfway point of the season. He's had plenty of time to adjust to that. So I don't know what it is, why he's so off with his location. Last year, we saw him consistently hitting his spots with just about every single one of his pitches. He didn't have an issue with the home run ball. Actually, he kind of did in September. He started to give up a few home runs here and there in September. But for the most part, he was excellent last year. And that was pitching for a team that didn't give him as much run support as he's getting this year. Granted, their offense has still been underwhelming. But yeah, this year, he's like, every time he gets barreled up, I can see where JT's setting up for the pitch to go, and then where it ends up going in the strike zone. And it's usually right over the heart of the plate, or right into the hitter's wheelhouse. So it is a correctable thing. I'm not sure what he needs to do to correct it, because like I said, he's had plenty of time, and it's still an issue. But I don't expect this to be a lingering issue for Aaron Nola.
Neither do I. And it's hard to tell that to people who are overly reactionary in the moment. I do believe that all the fears that we have about Aaron Nola for this current season are legitimate at a certain point. I mean, we're halfway through the season, like you said. We're 15 starts into his 2019, and he's just not the same guy. I don't know that this year is going to be the year where he kind of writes that. Maybe it is the offseason. We saw this in 09 with Hamels, which is the current thing that's going around. A lot of the very, very same numbers for him, or similar numbers, we should say, compared to Hamels' 2009 season after that big World Series win and the World Series MVP, and everything like that. It's, you can hear everything in this studio.
Yes, you really can.
Jesus.
Bless you, Steph.
Yeah, right? God, she's like 2 rooms over. But Aaron Nola is super concerning, and I would venture to say that it's probably even more so than the offense. Aaron Nola needs to get right for this team to have any actual hope at a postseason this year, whether it be just a wild card game, whether it be a divisional round of sorts. Aaron Nola needs to get himself right. If Eflin's pitching the way that he is, if Pivetta has truly taken the turn that it looks like he has taken, you need Aaron Nola to get himself right. You need Arrieta to get right, and we need to make a trade for another pitcher. That there's no argument there on either one of those, but the key is getting your ace back to ace caliber pitching. Not saying he needs to be a Cy Young candidate for the rest of the year, but he needs to be a legitimate ace.
See, this is something that I was thinking about a little bit earlier today. Given the depleted bullpen, do you think that maybe Aaron Nola puts a little bit too much pressure on himself? That he has to go out there and be perfect because he doesn't have as much bullpen depth to carry him the rest of the way?
I think for him, he has been the benefit of some very, very bad luck. You know, it seems as that we talked about this a little bit with Johnny on the last segment that I had here. Johnny writes for Phillies Nation now. We talked about a little bit, you and I, last week. For him, it seems like no matter what happens in his 6th or 7th inning on almost all of his starts, no matter what decision is made, it is the wrong one. And the logic may line up that says, hey, we're going to do this tonight and this should work in theory, and then it doesn't. If you leave Aaron Nola in for that extra batter or two, he collapses. If you take him out, the bullpen fails him. It feels like so much of this season for him, because there was a stretch there for 8 or 9 starts where he was back to statistical line anyway. This was nothing that was going to continue on as we're seeing or saw last start for him. But he was pitching to an ERA in the, mid 2s, and that's good. That's really fucking good. But he was still getting hit hard. The ball just wasn't leaving the ballpark, and he was able to kind of get out of some of those innings. But one thing that we do continually see is that last inning for him gives up 2 or 3 runs, whether it's his own failure or whether it's the bullpen's failure. That's what I think is frustrating.
Yeah, and even a lot of those games where his ERA wasn't a 2s for that stretch, he wouldn't make it out of the 6th inning. Or maybe he'd go 6 1/3, 6 2/3. He would never make it past 7 innings. And then, like you said, it's always that last inning where he gets lit up a little bit. We saw it in Atlanta on Saturday where he got taken out of the game
4 1/3,
4
5
1/3
1/3
after giving up that 3-run homer to Donaldson. And luckily the team was able to show a little bit of resolve on Saturday night and bounce back and get the 9th inning win to avoid what would have been a really tough to swallow sweep down there.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, he hits a wall every single game, and sometimes it's earlier, sometimes it's later.
The third time through the order.
It really is.
He's fallen by Vinny syndrome.
And last year we saw him so many times be able to pitch into the 8th inning, or sometimes even pitching into the 9th inning. We're not seeing him make it out of the 7th inning.
Yeah,
that's concerning.
It is concerning, and again, we need to get him right. He needs to get himself right for this to save this Philadelphia Phillies season. I trust right now the offense finding a way to click, finding a way to score more runs, far more than I trust Aaron Nola right now, ever. And that is I would have never said that. I just thought Aaron Nola was going to be automatic after what we saw last year. I don't want to say he was going to be basically unhittable, but I would say that with our offense, I felt like every single night out, it was Halladay-esque for me. That was how comfortable I felt going into the season with Aaron Nola. I just felt like if Halladay's on the mound, we're going to win. If Nola's on the mound, we're going to win. Now, I do not feel that way whatsoever.
And by the way, it's been the pitching losing us games lately. The first game of the Arizona series, we score 8 runs. We give up 13.
Yeah.
The first game of the Atlanta series, we score 8 runs. We give up 9. And then obviously there's no way that you're going to win a game when you give up 15 runs like you did on Sunday.
Yeah, look, when the Phillies lose, man, they are just, it's bad. They are, there's no way, there's just no normal way or normal loss that they have this year where you're like, it was a good game, whatever, coming back tomorrow. It's like they're getting blown out or they're getting walked off. Either two ways, they break your goddamn heart. It has been a pain so far. It's been difficult. Beyond Aaron Nola, you can't possibly start Jared Eichhoff, Cole Irvin, or Vince Velasquez like fucking ever again, right? Like that just can't happen.
I think that if the Phillies, for whatever reason, don't make a trade to bring in a pitcher, then inevitably we're going to see Eichhoff starting a few games here and there at some point this season. I really hope that's not the case. I really hope they go out and get a pitcher, but if they don't, then I think he's probably the first option to fill that last spot in their rotation.
It will be. And look, I have always loved Jared Eichhoff, and this is a tough one for me, but I'm now off that. I have seen enough, whether it be the injuries of the last couple of years or now the 18, 19 home runs in 28 innings, whatever it's been. It is inexcusably bad. It is unfathomably bad. I cannot understand or put it into words what is happening with Jared Eichhoff right now. And Cole Irvin's he's the same pitcher, just left-handed. Soft contact, relies on that contact, doesn't miss barrels, and his location's spotty at best. Like he has the ability to go out there and throw 7 innings one night because he's painting the black and he's creating soft contact and he's super efficient with the baseball. Okay. But then for every one start like that, there's going to be 5 outings like we've seen over the last 2 times he's taken the hill. He is not a major league pitcher at all. I have long loathed Cole Irvin. I know other people like him. He's not the guy. I don't want him anywhere. And Vince, that's not his fault. I will say that. Vince Velasquez should have never fucking opened that game 3 in Atlanta. Absolutely never. And he's going to open, apparently. Do you hear the interview from Kapler the other day? And I'm a Kapler apologist too. We know we named the show after him, but fuck, you're dumb if you're putting him out there again.
Yeah, I didn't hear that, but I already don't like the decision. Vince Velasquez needs to not be wearing a Phillies uniform. The only reason I think that he is right now is because of the lack of depth at a pitcher.
For sure. My whole thing is, I find this whole time we've been calling Vince to the pen. He's going to be a back end of the bullpen kind of guy. Maybe not a 9th inning guy, but a valuable 7th or 8th inning guy. And because he's been a starter, maybe he's a guy that can give you 2 innings there when you really need to. You know, he can focus on the higher velocity and the sharper spin right there. He can focus on those 2 things and he's going to be a valuable asset to the pen. When the Philadelphia Phillies and Gabe Kapler committed to that, when Chris Young committed to that, and they said, you know what? Vince is a bullpen piece now. we're done with the starting experiment. Why in the hell are we saying, let's start with you as the opener? Fucking dumb. So stupid. By that, just start Cole Irvin on game 3. Same fucking thing would have happened. Cole Irvin's garbage, but you wouldn't have allowed Vince to get lit up there. And we could have continued to work with him and not yo-yo him in roles. Starter, long relief man, back end of the bullpen guy, 7th inning guy, back to the back end. Like, you can't yo-yo this guy. He's an idiot. He's nuts out there on the mound. Give him one fucking job and let him do it. I don't understand. And the fact that Kapler came out, and again, more often than not, I'm going to agree with Kapler and I'm going to agree with this team. But to say, well, Vinny may be starting for us or in that opener's role for us over the next couple of weeks until we figure some things out. Thank you for waving a white goddamn flag every 5th day. That to me is fucking moronic.
Put Alvarez out there. That worked out pretty well when they did that in LA.
That worked out because LA is entirely left-handed. That's the difference.
Fair.
Alvarez doesn't really pitch well to righties. And, okay.
I mean, you got a team like Atlanta where granted they have Acuna and Donaldson who do damage from the right side, but that's mostly a left-handed lineup down there. It's Freeman's
Dansby, Swanson. Almost that goes lefty-righty, lefty-righty, lefty-righty. I mean,
it does, but you have guys like Freeman, you have Markakis, you have Albies, I believe, is a left-handed hitter. They have a lot of damage. McCann's a left-handed hitter. I think they have more damage coming from the left side than they do from the right.
I don't know, man. They got that rookie out there too that I'm blanking on his name right
Riley?
now. He's a righty. It's just that is a lineup of balance from both the left and right side that the game doesn't really feature these days. And that's a team that I think you can never truly use an opener on. Which is again why I would have went, let's just go with Cole Irvin. If you're going to lose, you're going to lose, but go with Cole Irvin. Let's not fuck around with Vinny. Just cannot take it. Before we get to the lone positive of our staff, let's talk a little bit about the bullpen here. And we get some reinforcements back. We get Neshek back. We got Ramos back a couple nights prior to that. We assume that Adam Morgan's coming back soon. We assume that Tommy Hunter should be back within the week or two at this point. And Robertson, I believe now, is finally throwing on flat ground. So that's usually about a good sign to say, all right, 2 to 3 weeks before you start seeing a rehab appearance for him. So a lot of reinforcements there for this bullpen, which should make, based on your argument earlier, that guys like Aaron Nola may be pressing because they don't have the bullpen support. How much of a difference do you think it's going to make getting all of those guys back and knowing that each of the guys that are coming back are our most valuable pieces to this pen?
That's going to be huge. Just the guys like Neshek. Neshek, when he is willing and able to pitch, is the best reliever in that bullpen. Adam Morgan has been great over the past 2 seasons. Would be huge to have him back. And then when they do get Hunter and Robertson back, those are 2 really experienced veteran guys who have been in a lot of different situations before. And yeah, right now it's an inexperienced bullpen as much as it's just not a talented one. And getting that experience back, I think, is going to be huge down the stretch. And there's a couple of veteran guys in there who can maybe provide that presence in the locker room to right the ship when the team's struggling a little bit.
I agree. And one of the things that intrigues me most, and I don't know how many other people would say this or have this line of thinking, but Tommy Hunter coming back. Tommy Hunter is a guy he's like the ultimate FU bullpen pitcher. He's like, I'll take the ball every goddamn day. I don't give a damn. Like, as long as he's healthy. That is, like, if he's, which again, if he's in the bullpen and dressed, I'm pretty sure he'll take the baseball. He will not care. He's the guy that I would be most intrigued about as an opener against a team like Atlanta, if you had to do it against a team like Atlanta. Tommy Hunter's going to take that baseball, and he doesn't care who the hell's in the box. I trust him. The way he came back last year in the second half was really, really encouraging to see. And I'm looking forward to having that type of guy back into the bullpen again. So getting those arms back, it's going to be huge for a rotation that it doesn't get deep into games, and for a pen that has just had to eat a ton of innings, and there's no break. It's difficult. Also got some good news on Sir Anthony, which I'll be honest, he's not Tanaka. He is one of, Tanaka actually is the only pitcher that comes to mind who attempted that rehab program instead, and was able to come back and pitch well, and not eventually need Tommy Johns. Hopefully Hopefully Sir Anthony is the same, but he throws so jacked up that I can't imagine that's going to be the case. So, but for now, decent enough news on him. Now, ace of the staff, Zach Eflin. Who could have possibly imagined that?
Yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere. We saw some signs from him last year where he had a couple hot stretches here and there, but I don't think anybody really anticipated Zach Eflin being as consistently good as he has been this season. But he's done a great job. You know, he's not missing his spots like Aaron Nola is and like some of the other guys are. His velocity has been good. He doesn't lose his composure in big situations. Say if the other team loads the bases against him with one out or nobody out in, say, the 5th or 6th inning, he'll find a way to get out of it with minimal damage. He won't be fazed by it. And really, he's just been so consistent throughout the course of the season that I was skeptical at first. I didn't think it would last, but I could see him, you know, going throughout the course of the season, maintaining the kind of numbers that he's put up so far.
He intrigues me because he's nothing sexy. You know, he's one of the only high velocity guys in our starting rotation. You know, he's hitting 95, 96 with, you know, pretty much regularity. You know, he's a really, really efficient guy, and almost any night out. I mean, right now, Johnny told me this stat, on the mid segment this week, that he is going to be the first pitcher since Cliff Lee for the Philadelphia Phillies to average 7 innings or more at home. And he's currently averaging 6 1/3 on the year, as a whole. He has been just that break that our bullpen needs every 5th day. My biggest concern is the fact that when you are the only pitcher that has that break and has the ability to give them that break, what happens when Zach Eflin hits a cold stretch like he saw off and on last year? I don't know that this is that happens this year. But he's been extremely, extremely impressive. And to think that Zach Eflin's name is out there on the hill and that is the name that's going to be bringing the most comfort right now, that is not how anyone would have drew it up this season.
Him and Pivetta. Especially at the beginning of the season when Pivetta was getting lit up, who would have thought that Pivetta's name would bring you comfort as well?
I don't know, man, but I give a hell of a lot of credit to Nick right now for going down to AAA. One of the things that, you know, we hear it on other podcasts, we heard it from Nick in an interview himself. You know, we heard it all over sports radio. When he got sent down to AAA, he stayed in Philadelphia. He drove, you know, 50 minutes, an hour and a half, whatever it ended up being with traffic to every game and every day at the ballpark in Lehigh Valley, because he said, fuck it, I'm coming the hell back. This is not permanent. I'm going to be back in this rotation. He went down there. He worked on some things that he needed to work on. Still not really having a third pitch, but good for him. He has come back an entirely different, you know, mindset of a pitcher. And I think that for him is the biggest thing. Obviously he has plus stuff. He's another guy who, you know, has really good velocity and a really, really hard spin rate, which is, excellent, with his off speed pitches. And when they're right, you see it. He's great. But for him, you know, it's been a 5-start stretch that I don't know a pitcher in recent history needed more. Outside of maybe Aaron Nola right now, who needs to string together a couple starts of really, really good, really good pitching. But let's transition over to the offense now. This is your favorite. Welcome in studio, Steve. Steve, how are you, sir?
Good, how you doing?
Swell. But transition over to the offense now. Lack of power. What do you attribute this to? Do you attribute this specifically to John Malley?
Mostly, yes, to John Malley. Because they're behind the curve, like you've mentioned before, I think both on the show and in the group text. They're behind the curve in this whole launch angle thing, where all the other teams are getting it down pat and they're sending balls into orbit on a nightly basis. And right now, I mean, we're seeing a lot of games where the Phillies don't even hit one out of the ballpark, or maybe they'll hit one that's like a Cesar Hernandez home run that lands in the first row. But especially coming from Bryce and from Reese, and I guess from Real Muto as well, I thought there would be more power coming from those three guys, and it's discouraging to see that has not been the case so far this season.
Yeah, I can't put my finger on what's going on right now. The only thing I can say is that the one thing I'm very comfortable and confident in knowing and acknowledging is that this offense seems so much more willing to walk than to put a good, solid swing on the baseball that could potentially land out of the ballpark.
And that was the same deal last year, and we thought that it would change given the new personnel on the team this year, but that's remained the same. And that was part of the reason why the offense struggled last year. And it's part of the reason, again, why they're struggling this year.
Yeah, I agree. And going along with this offense, when the season began, there was so much going on so much that was added to this lineup where it didn't feel as though we had any true holes. We had guys that could hit for power. We had guys that could walk and work pitches and counts. We had guys that were pure contact guys. We had speed. We had basically everything that we needed for a lineup. And we were talking about, one of the deepest lineups in all of baseball, and certainly in the NL. And that just hasn't been the case. So when you look at it, Cesar is hitting like $150 in his last 30 games or so, and primarily when he got shifted down to the leadoff spot, with the McCutchen injury, which really kills this lineup. But we have finally flipped him out of there. Gene Segura right now is hitting under 200 in his last 30 games. He's a guy who, when he goes, this team goes. He's very Jimmy Rollins-esque, him out of the 2-hole, constantly getting on base, and he's getting on base not by walks, but by being able to hit and put the baseball basically where literally no one ever is on a baseball field. I don't know how he does it when he's hot, but it seems like everything that touches his barrel finds a hole. So good for Gene when he's going. But right now, with the two of them in particular, Cesar is the only one in the second half of the order now that is a legitimate major league bat. I mean, look at the lineup that was supposed to happen last night. Rodriguez is in there. Knapp is in there, because, JT lost a testicle on a foul ball. Really, really tough situation there for JT. Which, all joking aside, hope he's fine. But when you look at, you have Rodriguez, you have Knapp, you have Franco in there, like, oh my God, is that bad? Cesar becomes your best bat in the second half of the lineup. That's impossible. And then you're relying on Gene Segura to tie things up in the front end. Those two guys are key for me right now in helping bring power along, because it continues to have guys on base. What's your view on the importance of Cesar and the importance of Gene in each of their positions?
Well, Cesar, like you said, he's kind of the anchor at the bottom of the order there, because there's nobody else down there who can hit consistently, especially with Michael Franco being ice cold after his great start to the season. So you need Cesar to not go through these slumps where he's hitting 150 over a stretch of time. You need him to consistently be hitting between 275 to 300 throughout really all stretches of the season. And Segura, the one thing I noticed with Segura is just like on his pop-up, remember how the pop-up where McCutchen got injured? Segura, for whatever reason,
down to one knee.
Yeah, dropped down to one knee. He's been doing that way, way, way more often lately. He wasn't doing it really at all early in the season, and now it seems like he's dropping down to one knee, trying to hit everything out of the ballpark. And he's not a power hitter. He might run into 15, 20 homers a year, but you don't want him dropping down to one knee and then inevitably popping everything up. You need him to be staying balanced there in the box, hitting the ball to where the fielders aren't like he was earlier in the season, just dropping singles in there, dropping doubles and triples down the line. We're not looking for home runs out of him. And I know I just harped on...
Just going to say that sarcastically, but yeah. You're right. That is the guy that you just want on base.
You want him on base so that Harper and Hoskins can hit the ball over the wall with him on base, and instead of getting a solo shot, you get a 2 or 3 run homer.
Yes, and I do think the philosophy changes, whether it be Cesar at the top, whether it be Gene at the top somewhere. You need base runners. You need pitchers throwing out of the stretch. You need pitchers uncomfortable in order to increase the likelihood of those mistake pitches that come in. When no one is on base, they don't give a fuck where they're throwing. It does not matter, because if they hit the ball out of the ballpark, screw it. There's no one on. It's a solo shot. Who gives a damn? If Gene is getting on, if Cesar is getting on, if Scotty now out of the 3-hole is getting on, if Bryce out of the 2-hole is consistently getting on, as we've seen, it makes that job easier for the next guy, or more likely to see a mistake pitch. What they are not doing with those mistake pitches is capitalizing. That's a serious, serious issue. And to me, it seems like there's an identity crisis there in that offensive approach. There's a philosophical just error. Things are not clicking. They're looking for walks. They're have no true launch in any of their swings. Even Bryce right now, and I am fine with Bryce Harper and what he's doing, because I trust that power will come with him. But even he, not a whole lot of launch. Everything is let's try to find a hole. He's bunting down the third base line, which I'm cool with. He's not pulling anything. It's just been such a strange goddamn season for this offense, and I just do not get it. And someone has to answer for it, and that is your favorite boy,
John fucking Malley.
Which
Fire him.
So what was your response to, I think it was Stolness who put it out?
I forget what the question was exactly, but my response was
describe the Phillies in 3 words.
Yes. Fire John Malley.
And
That's simple.
Mine was for fuck's sake. And I was rewarded with that as I was sitting there on the couch several hours later after already responding to that tweet. And I hear Stephanie laugh to herself, and I said, "The hell, what's funny?" And she goes, "You," because I literally hear you say that every Phillies game, for fuck's sake. And I was like, well, I hope they use that on their show. So, John over there, for the good fight, dude, I hope that you use my response, and Rob's for that matter, on the show. That's going to bring us to an inner segment bit real quick. The Go Fund Neshek, a Pat Neshek story. We feature this every once in a while. Rob, do you have one this week?
I do, yes.
No shit. All right. Good stuff. You want to take yours first? You want to go second?
I'll take mine first.
All right. So real quick, just for anyone who is listening for the first time to this segment, or this inner segment bit, this is specifically the opening line of a bio for Pat Neshek's GoFundMe account that would, in theory, be set up by the Always Next Year podcast if he ever chooses to go back to the IL, which we assume will be in the next 72 hours when he's asked to pitch again. So, Rob, give us yours.
Okay. Well, my GoFundMe is basically to raise money to hire a personal assistant to literally do everything around the house for Pat Neshek, so he doesn't have to waste his arm on spreading peanut butter on a sandwich or anything. Because when he does that, when he spreads a little peanut butter on a sandwich, that means he's not going to be able to pitch for the next week or so because he used his arm. So just completely, entirely prevent Pat Neshek from using his right arm whatsoever during his household duties so that he can come out and pitch for the Phillies.
I love it. I love it. I went different than you. I went to voodoo magic at this point. I believe that there is nothing else further we can do, and that we need something beyond actual understanding to help Pat Neshek. So I said that we are looking for donations and help in finding the right Jobu statue for Pat Neshek's locker. We've tried Buddha, Jesus Christ, Pauly Shore, Jan from the Toyota commercials, total babe, by the way, and a bowl of Fruity Pebbles. Nothing seems to work or aid his, nothing seems to work and aid his sensitive ego. Jobu, Serrano's advice. I don't think that there is a damn thing that we can do to help Pat Neshek, and that's super concerning. So whether it is someone to make his peanut butter sandwiches for him in efforts to save that elbow, or it's a Jobu statue in the locker, something's got to give. Whatever keeps Pat Neshek healthy and available in the bullpen, I am all for. And was that your whiskey?
Yeah.
Jesus. Did you bring 6 barrels of whiskey?
No.
That is a loud fall. Steve over there, resident alcoholic. All right.
Cannot keep it together over there.
He cannot keep it together. And he probably hasn't even, well, I guess.
I haven't even started drinking.
I was just going to say, have you started drinking? Have you not? All right. So, trade talk for a little bit. All of the names, there's nothing really new. We've heard the Mike Miners and the Pences. We've heard the Bumgarner and Will Smiths. We've heard the Stroman, talks, the Boyd talks. We've heard Trevor Bauer, Dyson in the outfield, Adam Jones in the outfield. Any new names coming to mind for you right now for this trade deadline?
I haven't really had any new names come to mind. I'm really zoning in on Stroman. I think he would be a great addition to the Phillies rotation. And given the state of the Blue Jays right now, I think that he could be had for the right price. You're not going to give up any active members of the team because up in Toronto, they're clearly in the process of rebuilding up there.
I think that's what complicates the Stroman deal.
I could see it complicating in a way because the Phillies already have a depleted farm system. And you don't want to give up what's left of that. But at the same time, the Phillies are in a win-now mode. So
speaking of that, are there any prospects for you within this organization that are true untouchables? After moving the organization's top prospect in the JT deal in Sixto Sanchez, we're left with Adonis Medina and Spencer Howard as their 2 prime pitching targets, or pitching prospects. Are you more or less likely to move prospects right now given the circumstances of this team in win-now mode? Or are some people on your board of let's not touch these guys?
Personally, I would move those 2 just because I'm not a big fan of pitchers. I don't really care about pitchers that much.
You'd rather buy them?
I'd rather buy them, yeah. I would not move Alec Boehm. I would not move Moniak. I would not move Hazley, although he's technically up with the big club right now, so I don't know if you can really consider him a prospect anymore.
He's still a prospect.
So I would not move those 3.
Just those three? How about Bryson Stott, first pick of this year's draft?
Well, Bryson Stott, I think, goes without saying because he was just drafted.
I don't know. Dansby Swanson got moved like immediately, drafted by Arizona, and then sent over in that deal for Archie Bradley. So I mean, it wouldn't be totally, unheard of. So my philosophy is continued to change. I've said I want to stay under the luxury tax. I don't want to pay those penalties year one in a season that we have just too many holes to fill. I don't know that I'm entirely on the side right now that says, fuck it. Let's go ahead and let's acquire Greinke, because in theory, if you go ahead and acquire Greinke, a guy who's going to pitch until he's 105 because he just keeps knowing what to do, keep reinventing himself every time he loses 3 miles off his fastball. If you acquire Greinke, you don't have to include your top end prospects, because you're going to take $90-some million off of the books for a team that sold Goldschmidt and sold Pollock already. Like, that can happen. Robbie Ray, same kind of deal, although Robbie Ray would cost prospects because his contract isn't what Greinke's is. But if you're going to go for it, those are the players I would attack. Almost bank on bad contracts. Let's say, fuck it, let's absorb the cost right now. We'll pay the penalties, but I do not want to deplete our already kind of thin farm system. So I don't know where you're at on stuff like that. If you care about the luxury tax, or you're saying fuck it.
I don't care about the luxury tax. I'm a fan. It's not my money. But if the Phillies are a big market team, just like, well,
so act like it.
Not as big a market as New York or LA, but up there with the Chicagos and the Houstons of the world. Yeah, you gotta act like a big market team if you are one. And given that the Phillies are, okay, maybe they're not exactly in the win now mode, but they're entering that phase, especially with the moves they made this past offseason. You gotta be aggressive. You can't just sit back and try to continue to build through the farm system when you want to contend for a World Series next year. You gotta make some bold moves. You gotta go out there and pay a little bit of money and not worry too much about going over that luxury tax.
I see the logic from both sides here. I see your logic there. To me, no matter what decision that this team decides to go in, no matter what Middleton decides to do and what Clintack is able to kind of put together, I just want to know that the identity of this team is one that it is comfortable going forward. I don't want to make moves right now that we're already going to regret next year. Or I don't want to enter the luxury tax if we're not going to commit and go ahead and really fucking spend next year and really fix all of the holes that we're currently going through. So the trade deadline is going to be an interesting story to follow over the next couple of weeks here. For a Phillies team that is just dying for starting pitching and in serious need of an actual bench, and a third baseman and an outfield. And fuck, there's a lot of holes. There are so many holes in this damn team. We've also, if you have not noticed, sorry, we don't care about swear jars on this show, or TJ's one of us, anymore. Well, we'll still do a swear jar. I'll still donate. That's fine, but I don't really care about keeping this,
He's rich.
Okay.
He can afford it.
I am so not rich. I'm out of work. This is my entire job in existence right now. So, first of all, I need you guys to all go buy food from Just Food, because we will get percentages of sales there. So for fuck's sake, just like my Phillies motto this year, go buy food there and help line my pockets, because damn it, I don't have a whole hell of a lot of money left.
And then bring the food to you, right?
It's delicious food. Last week he made me, they smoked a pork shoulder, and made pulled pork, and they make their own barbecue sauce and had these brioche rolls. Damn, it was good.
Anything with barbecue sauce is awesome.
So yeah, fantastic. Just such good food over there. We were going to do a game of Would You Rather, a Phillies Would You Rather, and we do have 5 very, very, very entertaining ones. But I want to kind of move into, the rest of this segment real quick and then jump into Flyers talk so that our producer on this second half of the segment, Steve, can, open that whiskey and get himself started. I also have to cook for us. So, that's pretty important. Since Rob doesn't eat anything, we have to eat all of it, which is fine.
I'll eat seafood.
It's strange to me. You eat seafood, but you won't eat Italian food. You just seem like such a broken human. I don't know that I've ever met one of you.
I thought that was already established.
I've just never met a human like you. It's bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. Anyway, let's go into, so we completed the first series, of the next, 26 games against NL East, opponents. We lose, 2 of 3 in Atlanta in incredibly embarrassing fashion. Now, I was sleep deprived in the 15-1 game, and I reacted in a way that I have not typically reacted on Twitter recently. I'm not going to apologize for it. I think that in the moment, that was exactly how I was feeling, and I conveyed it appropriately. That being said, now that I am no longer sleep deprived, and I'm a little bit more, functional right now and thinking appropriately, I can say that we lost a game that Atlanta just had to play literally perfect offense with a perfect approach and just throw bat heads at balls against our bullpen in the first game where we lost a 7-3 lead. But I appreciate Gabe Kapler trusting in Nick Pivetta, and I just kind of got to tip my hat to the Braves offense there. They just one bad pitch that was literally all the bullpen threw that night, and the rest of it was just great pieces of hitting. So, that was a team that was just hot, and they are just great from the seventh inning on. So we are not terribly far off in that game, and a huge bounce back game in game 2. Game 3, I have nothing fucking positive to say whatsoever. I'm really not interested in seeing Vince Velasquez any earlier than the 6th inning fucking ever again, or Cole Irvin in the major leagues. So
I'd rather just not see either one of them put a Phillies uniform on ever
and
again.
Eichhoff probably needs a month or 7 off. Now, he is IL'd now, which I don't know if this is just, a fake injury thing.
They do it every time a Phillies pitcher gets lit up, and he's been getting lit up for a little bit. They put him on the IL, tell everybody it's an injury.
Yeah, which, good for you. Sit your ass down for a little while, take a break. But let's talk confidence level heading into this, because this is a extremely crucial period for the Philadelphia Phillies right now. If they don't get hot and get hot fast, if their pitching staff can't get them deep into games, if their bullpen does not come back healthy and effective, or the members who are currently there, if they can't stay healthy and stay effective, if this offense doesn't get right, this stretch right here is going to define the season. If Atlanta keeps winning like they are, they're going to pull too far ahead, and we're not winning a wild card spot. It's just not going to happen. So we have got to sit there and get hot and continue to press Atlanta. New York is always going to give us trouble. Miami's always going to give us trouble. Washington right now is getting a little bit hot. They're starting to realize that, hey, their pitching staff is better than what they showed. Their offense is starting to click. I don't have the confidence that I would like heading into this stretch. Where are you at?
Yeah, my confidence level is completely depleted after blowing that first game in the Atlanta series and then just getting completely blown out in the third game. Even though they won the middle game, it's a series that you could argue, okay, they should have won 2 out of 3 because they should have held on in the first game, or you could argue that maybe they should have gotten swept. But yeah, my confidence level is pretty low with the Phillies right now. I think that they need to go into DC and at the very least pick up a split in these 4 games. I would want to see them win at least 3, but they need to pick up a split at least coming into this Miami series, and hopefully having Miami at home is a little bit of a reprieve, a little bit of a thing to help them get right. Miami, they give the Phillies problems, but they're not that great of a team. But yeah, right now, my confidence level is pretty shot.
Yeah, it's tough. And I really enjoy when I can sit down stress-free and watch a Philadelphia Phillies game. And it has happened entirely too infrequently this season. And if I survive health-wise the next 26 games, I'll be fucking shocked. This is a hell of a time to have in-between health insurance. This is not good. So Philadelphia Phillies, the entire organization, Clentak, make a move for a starting pitcher. Bullpen, for the love of God, stay healthy. Let's find a bench piece. We got Miller, which is fine. He's interesting enough. But yeah, confidence-wise, this is a tough stretch here for the Philadelphia Phillies. But that's pretty much going to wrap stuff off. Let's go to one final thought from each of us here on this team. Mini rant, stat, whatever you want to give us. Rob, we'll start with you.
This goes back to the Friday night game Friday night in Atlanta. That last play of the game, I can't help but think, I'm not the only person who thought that. Yeah, I'm not the only person who thought that, A, McCutchen would have caught that ball, and B, why did Jay Bruce not at least dive for it?
I don't know.
I mean, did he think that the winning run wasn't going to score there? Did he think that there were 2 outs or something like that? I don't know what was going on.
Not exactly
there were 2
in
outs.
shape human. I mean, he may not have been well, that's not true. Although I'm pretty sure almost every single time that he has left his feet, it's been going the other direction.
Yeah, he's more confident diving to the backhand than to the forehand. But still, you need to catch that ball to keep the game alive because the runners were off on contact. There were 2 outs.
Yep.
So the winning run is going to score if that ball lands.
Yeah, that was one of my points that I was going to go to as well. So Kutch, look, we miss you, dude. That's a tough loss.
McCutcheon catches that ball easily. He's there
He very
standing
well may
there
have
waiting
caught
for
both.
it.
That one with the awkward bounce that Bruce did actually make a really nice bare hand, rebound on after that weird hop. But I'm not prepared to say that Kutch doesn't have a pretty strong shot at making that catch too. He's such a just fundamentally sound and just really great routes. He's an actual outfielder and not a DH who's playing left field. But since you took one of mine, I'm going to go with my second shot at this mini analytics rant. I still don't understand what people hate about information, and I would strongly encourage people to watch all of these baseball games, including these 26, as difficult as they may be. Watch with an open mind. People, I feel as though they go into these series and they go into these games and each decision that is made wanting something to go wrong. And I've been there. I've been there with plenty of our sports teams and our players. Like Aaron Altair would go up to the plate, and I'll be lying if I sit there and a small part of me wasn't like, damn it, I hope you strike out, you bum. But that's the wrong approach. We're actively choosing to be miserable right now, and I feel fucking bad for the people that do. I feel bad for the people who sit there and want this team to fail for their own need to be right about their own personal opinions. So I don't understand what you dislike about analytics. Go into this series, go into the stretch with a more open mind, and understand that the logic that is going from that is coming from our dugout, from Kapler, from Young, from the entire stat department and analytics department there, it is geared to help this team win baseball games and to provide more information to make a better educated decision and help coexist with an eye test and that gut feeling that is obviously so important in sports today. But just because you want to be right about hating Gabe Kapler or hating analytics, just know that you're a total asshole. And if you listen to our show, keep listening, but I'm probably going to criticize you every single time. So buckle up. That is going to be pretty much it here for In Cap We Trust. You can always follow me on Twitter. I am at Shane_Mead. Rob, where are you at?
At Radio_Rob.
Producer Steve is at Schmitty324. You can always follow our podcast account is at ANY Podcast. We put up different polls. We put up different thoughts and reactions to different things now. So we are trying to be a little bit more active there. Also follow us on our website. That is where all of our Q&As come from. It is www.alwaysnextyearpodcast.com. Also leave us a review. The next one gets a autographed photo of Rob's face. For the love of God, someone send in a goddamn review so we can stop advertising this photo of Rob's face, as funny and entertaining as it may be. That is going to be it here for In Cap We Trust here at the Always Next Year podcast, and we'll be back shortly with a Philadelphia Flyers segment, The Disciples of Ed, hosted by Rob.
A fighting man I used to be, revered and feared through Killarney. Now I'm back to hitching with the wind. But if Mickey Flynn should ever find me, I'll throw me caution all behind me and square off on that son of a bitch again. He cracked open a river too, he beat me Sunday through and through, and such over my unconscious frame. I won me healthy sheriff fights, well lucky son, still happy life since Mickey Flynn beat me dumb and lame.